All right. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to our California Clean Boating Network meeting. My name is Vivian Matuk, and I'm the Environmental Boating Program Manager for both the California State Parks and the California Coastal Commission. It is 11:58. Thank you for being prompt. We're going to give ourselves a couple of more minutes to allow people to join us. At the meantime, I wanted to share with you our agenda, even though I have shared with you already 3 or 4 times. But I wanted to make sure that everybody has access to the agenda. Make sure you have your lunch or your favorite snack or beverage to join us, and we will start in 2 more minutes. I'm going to mute myself at the meantime. All right. It is 11:59. Welcome everybody to our California Clean Boating Network meeting. Again, my name is Vivian Matuk. I'm the Environmental Boating Program Manager for both the California State Parks and the California Coastal Commission. Welcome to this fantastic, exciting, educational meeting we have prepared for all of you today. Again, I'm including in the chat for all of you the agenda. It was included several times in the reminders that I sent you, but I wanted just to make sure that, I know you are busy people, but you have access to our agenda right there. So really quickly, we're going to review the agenda. We're going to start inviting Adam Ratner, who's the Director of Conservation Engagement with the Marine Mammal Center. We're super excited to have him with us today. He's going to talk about the largest marine mammal hospital in the world, and he's going to share with us latest stories of their patients, new research on marine mammal health, and how the center is empowering individuals and communities to help protect marine mammals and ourselves for generations to come. Then we're going to have opportunities for questions, and then we're going to welcome my colleague, David Klosinski with the State Parks. He's going to be talking about the California Boater Card program, why we have it, of course, the positive impact it's already having on our waterways, and the number of cards issued to date. And we're also going to learn about some common misconceptions, including why the card isn't a license. In other words, we're going to be learning everything about the greatest and latest about that program. After that, I'm going to invite our colleague Thomas Jensen with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife to talk about the golden mussel and what the state is doing. As you may remember, last October 2024, it got into our state. So Thomas is going to be talking about the state efforts to date, resources available to spread the word about the issue and anticipated impacts and actions necessary to prevent the overland spread of invasive mussels to protect our state. And then I'm going to be sharing a presentation with my colleague Dolores Chan with the Bay Foundation about a very unique state and nationwide program, the Dog Walker program, who's celebrating the 25th anniversary. I wanted to mention to all of you how we put together this meeting. throughout the year, I have tons of conversations with boaters, marina, yacht club operators, boating facility operators across the state. We attend a bunch of events, and I try to collect information about topics that are what I call hot topics. People want to learn about this, or they have been in the news, or there have been a lot of misconceptions. So that's why we select the topics. In addition to that, I take advantage of the evaluation form of the California Clean Boating Network meeting we had last year. And in the evaluation, you will be able to include topics that you want to see. And that's how we put together these educational meetings. So please, today, after we're done with the meeting, I'm going to be sending you an evaluation form because this will help us to improve our programs, but also it will give us ideas for next year to put together these specific forum. All of you are pretty savvy in terms of dealing with virtual meetings. Some of you are not, so I want to treat everybody equally. We would love to see your beautiful faces, so we have more like this interaction. So feel free, please, to turn on your cameras if you can, and if you have the capacity to do so. If you have an unstable system, we totally understand, but we would love to see you so we feel like we're all together. I'm going to mute everybody, not because I don't want to hear your beautiful voices, but it's because sometimes this system tends to create a lot of background noise. So I want to make sure that this educational meeting is as pleasant as possible for everybody. But of course, you have the opportunity to ask as many questions as possible following our agenda. So you will have the opportunity to either unmute yourself or use the chat function to place your question. But I want to invite everybody to refrain from using the chat while we are having the presentations. Why is that? It's because that tends to create a lot of confusion. People start reading the chat rather than paying attention to the speakers. So we want to make sure the speakers feel also comfortable dealing with your questions and this experience. All right, who is here with us today? So as you remember from the registration form, I ask you to include your organization, if applicable, and also your county. So I put together this fantastic map that shows who is with us today. And as you can see, we have the beautiful representation of all of our coastal counties and a bunch of our interior counties today. So thank you for joining us today. And I also have on the right-hand side information about who is joining us today. We have boaters, of course. We have staff from counties and other state agencies, Coast Guard Auxiliary, Power Squadrons. We have also general public, nonprofits, aquatic centers, marine patrols, water and keepers, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Sea Scouts, Board of Supervisor representatives. So it's a fantastic group of people. So thank you for joining us. And the last announcement before we start with our presentation is to invite you all to listen to our Dockside podcast that we put together. And we have so far 34 episodes to date, a wide variety of different topics. You can just use your favorite browser and just type in Dockside podcast and it will pop up there. We even have the latest episode is about the Marine Mammal Center, which Adam is going to be covering next. So please tune in, and I hope you enjoy our Dockside podcast. All right, so now Vivian is going to be quiet, and now I want to introduce our colleague, Adam Radner. Again, he's the Director of Conservation Engagement with the Marine Mammal Center. Adam, we're super excited to have you today, and the audience is all yours.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Vivian, and welcome everybody. It's such a treat and honor to be with all you today. This kind of clean boating network is such an amazing partner for the Marine Mammal Center. You're some of our eyes and ears out in the community and out on the water, and I wanted to take a little bit of a step back and share just a little bit about some of our ocean neighbors, what we've been seeing over the last couple years, and some of the research that's happening. So, as Vivian mentioned, the Marine Mammal Center is the world's largest marine mammal hospital. When we take a step back, really one of the things that we see is it's not just about being a hospital, it's about learning about the health of the ocean. So seals and sea lions, they're sentinels for the sea. And we're able to learn so much from rescue and rehabilitation of those animals to the research that comes in related to why they're getting sick, how they're getting sick, and what that might mean for people. And then being able to share that out with any audience, whether it's the general public that's walking into our hospital or partners like yourselves. When it comes to our kind of key work, we do rescue more than any other organization when it comes to seals, sea lions, whales, dolphins. And we've been doing this now for just over 50 years. It's been 27,000 marine mammals that we've been able to rescue and care for up and down the California coast and out in Hawaii. And all of that is leading to more pro-environmental behaviors and how we're able to inspire that next generation of scientists, of stewards, of students, as we think about this shared ocean home that we all depend on. Now, I think many folks are probably familiar with some of the core work of the Marine Mammal Center, but for those that might be new to this, so we do respond to marine mammals up and down a 600-mile range of California coast, from the very top of Mendocino in the north to the very bottom of San Luis Obispo County in the south, as well as all those inland counties. We also have a hospital out in Hawaii for the endangered Hawaiian monk seal, and this work is truly only possible from support from the community. As a nonprofit, we run off of donations. As a nonprofit, we also greatly depend on volunteerism. Most of our work, from the rescues to the feedings to the cleanings to the basic medical procedures and education work, done by close to 1,400 volunteers. They start at age 15, they go up to 97. We don't even cut it off at 97. So a real testament for over the last 50 years, how we've been able to build this network of support for both people and marine mammals that we share our shores with, and how we hope to continue doing that for 50 more years and beyond. Now, some of the key work that I'll walk through is related to response and rescue piece. Oops, as things go skipping ahead. A piece that the boating community has really been at the forefront of supporting us with. You are our eyes and ears. We have a hotline number, ends in seal, so we try and make it easy. But we get around 20,000 phone calls a year from the public letting us know about any animal that might need help, whether it's a threatened sea otter to a large entangled humpback whale to a couple-day-old harbor seal. It really is the people in the community that are giving us a call, letting us know what they see, that enable our trained responders to get out there, evaluate the animal, and rescue them if necessary. Each year is a little bit different. It could be anywhere from 700 animals a year up to around 1,800 animals in a single year. We'll bring them to our hospital in Sausalito, or for the endangered Hawaiian monk seals, a hospital out near the Kona airport. And there we can do any tests you can get at a human hospital for them. So whether that's surgeries, x-rays, brain scans, we even did the very first ever cataract surgery on an elephant seal, a hernia surgery to help repair these animals. The picture in a top left is part of an exam where we also did a root canal for a sea otter. So truly anything these animals need to have that second chance at life. And as soon as they're better is the day that they get to head back home. We're not a zoo, we're an aquarium. We want to get these animals back out to the wild. And this is something that you actually have a chance to witness in real time if that's something you're interested in. You can text that number to know about when we're bringing animals back out to the ocean and see that moment where they go back home. Now, all these animals help inform the research, this understanding of the health of the bay. So whether it's diagnosing what's making these animals sick, we were the first to discover cancer in California sea lions, domoic acid toxicosis, this harmful algae that can affect both people and marine mammals. We've been at the forefront of understanding why so many whales, record numbers of whales, have been dying in San Francisco Bay over the last few years. And we've been at the forefront of following and tracking endangered and threatened species like that Guadalupe fur seal in the bottom left, because we really don't know where some of these animals go, how they're behaving. And if you don't know those answers, how can you inform policy? How can inform protections for these animals that need it the most? And then, of course, the education side of things and how we take all this learning and empower people with what they can do about it. So, whether that's with students and how we offer programs for middle school students and help actually coach and train middle school teachers on how to get how to get marine science out into the audiences and the communities, whether it's veterinary training programs, pathology and research, internships, all different ways that we can take what we learn from these animals and help inform actual movement to keep all of these animals and our communities safe. Now, we do work with a lot of different types of animals, ranging from the seals and the sea lions that you see kind of on that top line, to some of the more endangered, threatened, and unique animals like the Hawaiian monk seal, the sea otter, or the cetaceans. And while I would love to go into lots of different stories with you, I do highly recommend checking out that podcast that Vivian mentioned, where we're going to dive a lot deeper into particularly the whale story, something I'm not going to do in my next couple minutes. But the whales have been an incredibly dynamic situation in San Francisco Bay. And we've got a lot of work working with boat owners, working with the ferry operators, thinking about ways that we can coexist. How do we spot whales? How do we know what they're doing in the bay? And how do we do things to help protect them? So we go into a lot more details on that podcast. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to just share two stories with you with my remaining time today. I wanted to share the story of Siona, uh, Pacific harbor seal, and Albatross, California sea lion. So let's start with Siona. And this was a young harbor seal that we found out in Marin County near Bolinas Beach. Folks were walking along the beach. They saw this animal. Something just didn't quite look right. It wasn't very big, only 18 pounds. It was kind of all alone. It wasn't moving very much at that time. So they got on the phone and we sent a team out there. And over the course of the time when we were getting out there, a lot of things were happening out on the beach. The animal was moving around. All of a sudden, dogs were chasing it and harassing it back onto the beach. People were actually picking this animal up and holding it. Really, really dangerous situations here. When we got out there, someone was physically holding the animal. We could actually see its umbilical cord, knowing that it was less than 7 days old. This is an animal that should be with its mom. Why it wasn't, we'll never quite know the answer, but the fact that there were so many people, so many dogs, so much hands-on interaction, we know that the moms can get very scared. So if people or dogs get too close, the mom does actually take off and abandon this pup. So you've got this less than 7 day old animal that really has no chance of survival on its own. It needed its mom to get the milk. It needed its mom to help it kind of over the next month and a half become a kind of regular harbor seal. Luckily, if we find them in time, if we can get them to the hospital, we can help do that for them. So we realized Siona wasn't going to be okay out on the beach. We needed to bring her back to the hospital. So we did an admit exam, identified her age, realized that this was an animal that was really malnourished, didn't get enough milk from its mom, and was going to need a lot more. We've got neonatal units at the hospital. We were able to pair this animal with a few other animals in a similar age group. We tend to see anywhere from around 20 to 75 harbor seals each year in the springtime. And what we did is we started providing care. We gave a formula, kind of a fish smoothie, if you will, to be able to mimic the milk it would be getting from its mom. So it had some of that basic nutrients as it started to get a little bit bigger. We actually had to teach Siona how to eat fish. She went to fish school where we dragged fish around in the water until she learned how to eat it. We provided a bunch of different enrichment to help this animal understand what exploration in the wild would be like. So we actually took the things that car washes use. They make fantastic fake kelp. And we could hide fish within the fake kelp and various things to make sure that when this animal was released back out to the wild, it was able to really thrive. Paired Siona with a bunch of other animals that were at the hospital, provided around-the-clock care, and after around 2.5 months, this big butterball was kind of healthy, had a clean bill of health, was able to go back home. So a really great way that we're able to help save that individual animal, but also it goes to kind of protecting the larger species as well. A lot that you could take from this is what happened with Siona specifically, of what happens if you see an animal out on the beach. Keep your distance. We say at least 150 feet or 50 yards. Keep dogs on leash and utilize us as the experts. Call the Marine Mammal Center. We have that hotline. I encourage you to always just have it in your phone. Plug it in now so you don't need to remember it later. We'll always be there to help ask some questions, help understand what's going on out there. And if there is an issue, we can get a team of volunteers out there right away to help address it. So first thing you can do is definitely give us a call and keep your distance. One of the things that we've identified over the last few years, though, as we've been doing more research on why these animals have been coming in and what they're experiencing out on the beach, is we're seeing an extraordinarily high level of disturbance. People out on the beach that are getting too close, dogs that are getting too close, just like Siona, and resulting in harm for these animals. So one of the studies that I was a part of just in the last few years really looked at each case, every animal that we rescued and what was happening out on the beach. Last year, over 250 animals were disturbed by people and dogs out on the beach. That was 26% of all of our cases. And we saw things ranging from people touching and moving the animals, crowding around on dogs, biting them, some incredibly dangerous behaviors that can really be the difference between life and death, particularly for those young animals like Siona. So we paired some of that research with going out onto the beaches and surveying folks around the community of why they might do certain things if they see animals out on the beach. And we actually identified two key kind of audiences when it came down to why people might get close to these animals. One being this wildlife protector. They get close to try and help the animal. The other being an experience seeker. And the vast majority were actually the wildlife protectors. They got close because they thought the animal needed help. And the unfortunate reality, even incredibly well-intentioned, is that by getting too close to this animal to try and help it, you might actually be hurting it more. In the case of Siona, harbor seal moms leave their pups for a couple hours to go find food, will then come back to their pup. But if there are people or dogs around the pup, they won't come back. So people seeing Siona as this abandoned animal out on the beach, running up to try and help her, hold her, care for her. The mom is actually probably watching this take place and realizing that it's now too dangerous. So for all of the great motivations, the great intentions that folks have, please keep your distance. Just let us know, and you can actually be that wildlife protector in the best possible way. We're using all this data as well to target hotspots where we're seeing animals needing more attention. We see people, again, mostly communities that are well-intentioned but misguided. We're working with partners, whether it's the Clean Boating Network or NOAA, community centers, restaurants even, to help build awareness because everyone is trying to help these animals for the most part. They just don't know the right way to do it. And we're certainly looking for more partners to help us get that message out there. The other story I wanted to share is that of a California sea lion named Albatross. And this is an animal picked up a little bit farther south from our Sausalito hospital. We go down to San Luis Obispo, and this was down in Santa Cruz where we got a phone call about an animal that just really wasn't moving very much, just lying there. And people got worried, rightfully so. So we sent our team of rescuers out there. We brought Albatross back to the hospital. And we immediately realized when you got a close look inside the animal's mouth that there's actually fishing line and a fishing hook caught. You can see it a little bit on the x-ray. Pretty far down was where the hook was, kind of below that last rib in the x-ray. So this is an animal that required surgery to remove that. We also identified that this animal had a bacterial infection of the kidneys, something called leptospirosis, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. But luckily, caught in time, we're able to fix the entanglement, we're able to fix the ingestion issue, and we're able to fix leptospirosis. And Albatross was able to get released back out to the wild just within around 1 month. Now, leptospirosis is a big fancy word. If you're not familiar with it, It's something that we actually see a lot in dogs. You've actually probably vaccinated your dog for leptospirosis. We see it in other wild species as well. And we do see it a lot in people, just not typically as much in the United States. This is a zoonotic disease, the most common disease in the world that's spread between people and animals, and it typically comes in the form of untreated water. So folks that don't have clean water, or in the situation of extreme weather events, the aftermath of massive hurricanes, things like that, we tend to see leptospirosis pop up. This is something that we see a lot of in California sea lions as well. It basically causes renal failure in them. We see big outbreaks every 3 to 5 years. A major research study is trying to understand why that cyclical nature, and I'm happy to answer questions about that. But this year, unfortunately, was the worst year we've ever seen. In 50 years of data collection, we've never seen what we saw this year. So our previous record was 300 animals. So far already, I know we're coming up towards the end of the year, but we're over 450 already. We were rescuing around 8 to 9 animals a day for the entire month of July. So truly devastating how many animals were getting this bacterial infection and needing help. We were able to save a lot of them, but again, it gives us warning signs of what's happening out in the ocean. And that's where the research is coming into play so much. Understanding ways that we can treat these animals and figure out ways to give them that second chance at life. And also thinking about that one health dynamic, human health, animal health, and environmental health together for why are these animals getting this disease? How can we prevent it with the animals? How can we prevent it with people? In diagnostics and pathology, really understanding that cyclical nature a little bit. Why might this be taking place? And one of the clues is potentially things like climate change, and how the ocean is really changing between the warm water conditions affecting the population, making groups more vulnerable. So we spend a lot of time working with community partners around how we can get the word out there around ocean health, how we can support people if they're going to be talking about climate change. We run the National Network for Ocean and Climate Change Interpretation, or NOCI, and have a wide variety of resources, professional development for people so that they feel empowered to talk about these scientific issues, but talk about it in a way that really leads to productive, hopeful, solutions-oriented, community-minded action around climate change and other ocean health topics. So all of this kind of bringing the story together of how we can create a healthy ocean, not just for marine mammals, but for people alike. And lots of different ways to stay connected with us. So if there are particular stories or research elements, I encourage you to explore our website. We've got all of our scientific papers up there and a deep dive into those different ailments and entanglement issues that we tend to see. You can always come out and visit the hospital in Sausalito, see the animals we're taking care of, talk with our experts and our veterinarians. And then I do encourage you to continue to be our eyes and ears as we think about kind of sharing the word on how people can view wildlife responsibly and safely. You have been amazing partners out on the water with us for years at this point, and we absolutely love that support and want to be able to help you as much as you need as we continue doing that work. So with that, if there are any questions, I put my email address up on the screen. Again, our website, marinemammalcenter.org. But I'll turn it back over to Vivian. I believe we've got a couple minutes for questions and happy to answer anything that you have. Thank you all.
Wow, Adam, always so fantastic to hear your presentation and the work that the Marine Mammal Center is doing. Couple of things for everybody. Don't worry, after the presentation, you will receive in your inbox a follow-up email with all of the speakers' phone numbers, as emails, as well as website. So all these resources will be shared with you. And also, I wanted to remind everybody that a lot of the resources that Adam shared, including how to report animals in distress or entangled animals, among others, are found in a variety of our publications. We just work with Adam and his colleagues and my colleague Melissa Miranda to update, as you all know, the ABCs of boating law. Our binder card has all that information. And also, I want to include in the chat a couple of things that are related to the presentation Adam gave. the list of all the fishing line recycling stations we have across the state, and also the reporting phone numbers that are important for pollution as well as entangled animals. So let's go ahead and open up the microphones here. So we got great job, Adam. Thank you. And Catherine, yeah, the seal phone number, Adam already responded. Can you get an update on a patient after reported? Catherine Cornejo is asking you, Adam.
Yes, absolutely. So if you go to our website, marinemammalcenter.org, you'll be able to go to our kind of animal care and patients. We'll list every patient that we rescue, along with their admit date, their location, their diagnosis, any disposition as that happens. We'll also add photos if some become available. So you can always find that. You can also reach out to us if you've got specific questions about animals, and we're able to give you an update there as well. So we try and make it as transparent as possible. Every patient will get a name, so it's easy to kind of track them. So if you do find an animal after you report it, get that patient's name. That's going to help us the most be able to connect you with all the information that you need.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions in the chat, but I want to give the opportunity to those who are super brave to open the microphone and ask any question. Remember, any question is valid. Adam loves questions, so we have another one from Cheryl. Is there a similar organization in Southern California?
Yes. So while we are the largest in the world, there are many different marine mammal stranding organizations. So every inch of U.S. coastline is covered by a group like us. They might not be doing rehab with all the animals. They might not have the scope or scale of what we're doing, but there are organizations that help monitor the seals and sea lions along our coast. In Southern California, there are a bunch of different groups. They have much smaller ranges, typically at the county level versus kind of what we do at 600 miles. But you've got groups like the Pacific Marine Mammal Center, which is in Laguna. You've got the Marine Mammal Care Center of Los Angeles. SeaWorld does this work in San Diego. Some are open to the public, others are not. But if you are in those areas, you do have a resource to be able to call. We list all of that on our website. If you want to find the group near you, you can also call us and we can direct you. Or if you send me an email, I just put something in the chat box with my email. We've got kind of a handout, an 8.5 by 11 that kind of maps out all up and down the California coast, the groups that do this and their phone numbers.
Thank you, Adam. And I just included again the link to our website where the information that Adam just shared with us is also included there, including all the different centers. You have more questions coming here, and it says from Dave White, there has clearly been a resurgence of sea lions to the point of them living in the California Delta. Is there any plan to control the numbers of sea lions?
So there's no plan at the moment in terms of any kind of mitigation efforts. So seals and sea lions are protected under the Marine Mammal Protection Act. At this point, there hasn't been anything identified as a threat to human safety or environmental safety for the sea lions being there. We know that the sea lion population is relatively stable right now, and has grown over the last few years or over the last few decades with the Marine Mammal Protection Act. So there is monitoring that's happening. Certainly, as you start thinking about the impacts on other species like salmon and things along those lines, there are more conversations that start happening between the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and more government-led organizations. That's not something that the Marine Mammal Center has been heavily involved in. But to my knowledge, at this point, there's no action outside of monitoring for those animals that are coming into the Delta. It is something that we're actually trying to get the word out there more of as those numbers grow. If people see sick or injured animals because they might not have seen them before, might not be aware of the Marine Mammal Center, the services we offer. So a way to, again, help empower people with the information for what to do if they do see an animal sick or hurt, our phone number, keeping distance so that we can continue to build that database and help the animals that need it the most.
Thank you, Adam. David PD says, will even 100 feet foot of distance affect a mother's ability to return to a pup? I would think even further is better. How was the distance determined?
Yeah, more is better. But certainly, the simple rule of thumb is if the animal is reacting to you, so they lift their head, they make eye contact in a sense, you're too close and keep your distance. Sometimes it's just simply not realistic to keep 150 feet. You might not even know what it is until you get to 150 feet. They can look like logs or big rocks. So use your best judgment. We do know that these animals, as we've monitored them over 50 years, essentially, there is a buffer there that is helpful. So as much space you can do to really keep the animals wild and keep them kind of with their safe space, the better. If the animal comes up to you, that does happen as well. Some of these animals are curious. Just kind of try and move back. And again, always use us as the experts. You can call us if you're unsure what to do or if you think some animal needs help.
Thank you. We have two more questions. Curtis, who feel free to unmute yourself, and then we'll take Bob a question.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, everybody. And Adam, thanks so much for being here. I've got a question for you. As a marina operator, yes, the harbor seals are cute. They're lovely. We enjoy seeing them swim around, but they're incredibly destructive when they climb up on our docks.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the Marine Mammal Protection Act and what allowances might be included for gentle methods of encouraging them to relocate to a more natural setting?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a double-edged sword when we come to marine mammals. They are incredibly valuable uh, parts of the ecosystem, but how do we coexist with them? And that's something we've been dealing with the whales that are coming into the bay and how it um, intersects with San Francisco as a major shipping area and fishing community. When it comes to marina safety, NOAA has put together a lot of different resources for what is possible. There are ways to deter these animals that is legal. So what I will do just to make things easy, because there's actually a very good one-page PDF that NOAA has put together that's on their website. I'm going to put that in the chat box in just a couple moments for you. But rather than trying to multitask here and give you just a piece of it, I'll give you all that information momentarily.
Thank you. Bob Sampayan, do you want just to unmute yourself and ask the question you have? Bob, we can barely hear you. No. If you want just to include that question in the chat, that would be good. I'll take at the meantime other questions. So Adam, we have, how often does the Marine Mammal Center respond to animals in the South San Francisco Bay, like south of the San Mateo Bridge?
I don't have an exact percentage for you off the top of my head. I'm certainly able to pull some of those numbers and do a big report for you. Our range goes all the way down to San Luis Obispo. We do see more of our patients coming from the southern part of our range altogether. So when we think about 700 to 1,800 animals a year, big bulk of them coming from the San Luis Obispo area, around 1/3 of them. Another 1/3 coming from the Santa Cruz and Monterey Bay area. And then you've got 1/3, which is basically San Mateo up to Mendocino. And that's just simply because of where the breeding grounds are, where some of these animals spend most of their time, some of the different threats that exist in those areas. We do have a fair amount of rescues from San Mateo. That's going to be the biggest county within what we call our northern range operations. And that will happen anywhere inside the bay or on the ocean side.
Excellent, thank you. We have two more questions here. The first one is, David B says, I have had sea otters jump on my kayak in the past. Is there a proven technique to get them off a kayak short of pushing them off with a paddle?
I wish I had an easy answer to give to you there. No. Yeah, some of these animals don't make their lives easy. I'll be honest. So when we say kind of marine mammal disturbance and some of these things, the animals might not know, or they're playful and they're kind of getting themselves in trouble. So as they come up onto docks, as Curtis asked, or they come up onto kayaks. So I would be always mindful with these animals. Human safety comes first. So particularly with sea otters, they have incredibly sharp teeth. So be just very mindful there. I would kind of gently nudge. I wouldn't be super aggressive with them, to be really honest. Just I would kind of do gentle pushes and things like that, just so that they don't get extra defensive. Um, Luckily, this hasn't been something we've seen a ton of. There have been a few cases, and definitely down in the Monterey area, a few individual otters that have become famous for this that have made it into the New York Times and other places. And we're working very specifically on how to work with those individual problem animals. But what I would say is across sea otters, seals, sea lions, if you do see them and they're approaching you, try and move back as much as you can. If they're getting on your equipment, that's where there are some of these deterrence methods where you can use things like paddles. You can use, I saw someone put something about milk jugs and some of the things that I'll share out in just a few moments from NOAA that you can do to protect yourself and property.
Thank you. So Bob couldn't speak up, but he typed the question and he's saying, are sea seals or other sea life coming up to the Vallejo area and into the Delta?
Hmm. Yes, so it's not the most common place that we're rescuing animals, but as more sea lions have been coming up into the Sacramento River in the Delta, we have seen more cases. So this is an area predominantly larger adult males are the ones that are doing that. They've found food there. It's a place where they can rest without the risk of predators like white sharks and orcas. But it does come with some risks. Some of them are going there because they're already feeling a little sick. This is a place where they can be rested. So things like leptospirosis or domoic acid toxicosis, that harmful algal bloom. I did see a question about gunshot wounds. We have rescued a few sea lions with gunshot wounds up in the Sacramento Delta. Um, the the numbers there, I struggle to think that the Pacific Marine Mammal Center has 80% of their sea lions with gunshot wounds. That does seem extraordinarily high. We tend to see anywhere from like 2 to 10 a year, which would put it at like 1 to 3%, which I think is probably more typical of what's happening along the range as well. But I can't speak exactly to the statistics from the other organizations.
Thank you. Thank you for taking their question. And the last one from Michael. In Southern California, well, it's a comment. Some marinas will put gallon milk jugs of water on the docks or boat transoms while in the sleep. And then Charles is, I have had a lot of experiences while snorkeling with sea lions. May I speak? Yes, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I do a lot of snorkeling, spring and summertime in La Jolla Cove, San Diego,
Mm.
and the sea lions are like everywhere on that beachhead, and they're on the rocks
Yeah.
all around you. And every time I go in, they swim right past me or they come up close. I just keep my distance with them, and they get very close to me though. And
Yeah.
I have not really no fear of them, but I just stay back, kind of swim away from them. The problem I see is on the beachhead. People are constantly, oh, camera, get the camera, look, honey, and they're chasing these little pups around. The lifeguards are constantly saying, please stay away from the sea lions. And just I see it all the time. And people are constantly get too close to them and want to pet them. And they get too close for pictures, put the kids in front, take the pictures. The sea lions in the back, I notice lifeguards are constantly saying, please stay away from them to keep your distance. And it goes on and on. It's just amazing to see that.
Yeah, and I don't work directly with some of the animals down in La Jolla, just because that's in a different county than what we respond to. But I think there are a couple different pieces to that. So one is that we identified these two different motivations. So one is the wildlife protectors that are trying to help the animals but misguided. The other is that experience seeker. That's definitely what we're seeing more of when we think about the La Jolla area. That's where certain things like policy really come into play and community relationships. One great example within our response range is down in Monterey, San Carlos Beach, if you're familiar with it. For reasons still to be determined, around 2 years ago, like literally hundreds of sea lions descended upon that beach and just took it over for a period of a couple weeks. We think it was just a few animals stopped there as part of a northern migration, other animals joined. But what the county did is they actually cordoned off that section of the beach just for a short period of time, knowing that there's no way you're going to be able to safely have marine mammals and people when you're at that number. As soon as the sea lions dissipated within a couple weeks, they opened up the beach again. So that was one way they were able to kind of get ahead and prevent this. Other things are more around how we can work with people that do want that experience to do it in a responsible way. So we're starting lots of partnerships with things like kayak companies, providing training and resources so that people can have that experience, but do it within a way that doesn't hurt the animals, working with the ferry operators and commercial boat operations to, again, think about those best wildlife viewing. So you can still have that experience, but it's with the best interest of the animal in mind. Even when we talk to the people that have gotten really close, that are doing the selfies, all the things, they're not necessarily doing it without the knowledge that it's harming the animals. So they can shift if they better understand and can be pivoted to a way that's more of a win-win. And they're just not thinking about that in that context. That's where education and support and community leadership and all of these great kind of touch points that people might have with our different organizations and community groups can make a really big difference.
Well, thank you, Adam. Great presentation. Again, for the rest of the group, once we're done today, you will receive an email with all of our contact information, websites, and resources. So, Adam, if you want to share with me the PDF, that will be fine. I'll share it with the rest of the group. And we appreciate all the work that you and your team is doing, Adam. And hopefully you can stay with us for the entire presentation. So
Yeah,
now
thank you.
we
My pleasure.
are, thank you. Now we're transitioning into the California voter card world. And I want to introduce my colleague, David Klosinski, who manages the California voter card program. So David, welcome.
All right. Thank you for the introduction, Vivian, and great presentation, Adam. Glad organizations like that exist here. All right, let me share my...
And let me, I'm going to launch a poll that David...
Oh, yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, so we want everybody to please take a moment as part of this educational meeting. We try to make it super interactive, so please go ahead and take a couple of minutes, well, 1 minute to respond. We want to see everybody's participation. So right now we have almost 50% of all of you participating. So hopefully we can go all the way up to at least 80%. And it's anonymous. So if you don't know, that will be fine. Nobody's going to throw you under the bus. And that's why you're here, right? Just to learn. All right, we're almost to the 80%. Right. And Amber, please feel free to include your response in the chat, or well, in the chat, in the actual poll, but if you, that would be fine. Okay, so we have a couple of more people and I'll stop here. And then I'm going to go ahead and share the results. And David, you can just educate us, please.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is one of the slides in my presentation here. So we'll get to this question shortly here. Looks like a lot of people got it correct. So, all right. So yeah, let me pop open my presentation. Let's see here.
And remember, we'll take questions at the end of each of the presentations.
Okay. All right. So my name is David. I'm an analyst for the California Voter Card Program. I've been working here since March of 2025. However, I have been in division for about 2.5 years. So today I'll be providing an overview of the California Voter Card Program. So you'll learn about the background of the voter card, who is exempt, the associated fees for the card, how to obtain the card. We'll talk about how many cards have been issued to date, penalties if you're caught without a card, and much more about the program itself. So first, let's get into the background of the California voter card. So in 2014, California Governor Jerry Brown signed Senate Bill 941 into law. This law prohibits the operation of any motorized vessel on California waterways unless the operator possesses a valid California boater card. The law took effect in 2018. So we had 4 years to come up with the program and the requirements, which was all done through the Division of Boating and Waterways. My coworker, Evan Becker, has actually been here since the start of the program. So he's the one that kind of created this whole program. And it was implemented in 8 phases since 2018. So it's implemented by age group. So in 2018, anybody 20 or younger was required to have the card, and all the way up to 2025. As of 2025, all operators of motorized vessels are required to carry the card regardless of their age. To obtain a boater card, motorized boat operators must complete an approved boating education course and pass an exam. The bill was enacted to promote a safer approach to boating on California waterways. With about 900,000 recreational boaters, California has one of the largest number of boat operators in the country. And the reason why it was created is because we saw the data from the U.S. Coast Guard, and it showed that states with mandatory boating education experience saw a reduction in accidents, injuries, and fatalities, as it enhances boating safety knowledge and awareness among operators on the waterways. All right, so next year, this is a map that displays, so this map actually came from the National Association of State Boating Law Administrators, which we call NASBLA. They produced this map, and it shows all the mandatory boating safety education, how it's implemented in the United States. So what NASBLA is, it's a nonprofit organization that works to develop public policy for recreational boating safety. NASBA represents the recreational boating authorities of almost all 50 states and territories. So as you can see here, all the states in red, they have mandatory boating education for all boaters. And it looks like there's 8 states that have that. The states in yellow have education for personal watercraft operators only. The states in light blue have requirements for youth operators only. The states in dark blue require operators born on or after a certain date. The states in green are both personal watercraft operators and operators born after a posted date. States in gray have no form of boating education, which only consists of 5 states and 2 territories. So there are a lot of misconceptions with the program that we hear day to day. So we just wanted to clarify some misconceptions about the California Boater Card program. First, many boaters believe that the California Boater Card functions as a license, like a driver's license, but for a boat. However, it's not a license because it does not require yearly renewals like a traditional license does. Instead, it's an education card that just demonstrates you have completed the necessary boating education. So you only do it one time, you take the education, you get the card, and you don't have to renew it or take any other classes unless you want to, which we highly encourage you do. Another misconception is that this program exists solely to generate revenue for the state. According to Senate Bill 941, the program is designed to be cost neutral, which means the state cannot profit from it. So all the money we do get gets directed directly into the program, supporting the program, such as outreach. We do a lot of outreach events too. And then lastly, many people believe that California is the only state implementing mandatory boating education. But in reality, California was actually one of the last states to adopt such a requirement, just in 2018, so recently. So there are a few exemptions from needing the California Boater Card. and exemptions are listed here. You can get there's a couple more that I couldn't fit onto here, but these are the most commonly exemptions here. If you want to see a list of all the exemptions, please visit our website at californiaboatercard.com. But yeah, a person operating a rental vessel is exempt from needing the boater card. I know it sounds weird, but that's just the way the laws were written at the time. At the time, they did studies, and it reflected that those renting a vessel didn't have as many accidents as a boat owner itself. Another exemption would be a person operating a vessel while under the direct supervision of somebody 18 years or older who possesses a boater card. And this is kind of at the discretion of the law enforcement officer, whether what direct supervision means to them. But the way I interpret it is somebody's physically right behind them, watching them do every move. Another exemption would be a person who resides in another state other than California that's temporarily operating a vessel for 60 days or less and meets their state's boating requirements if they have any. Another exemption would be a person who is a resident of another country other than the United States who's temporarily operating a vessel in California for less than 90 days and meets their requirements of their country, if they have any requirements. Other exemptions are if you possess a current commercial fishing license or a valid marine operator license. So a Coast Guard operator license makes you exempt from the card, but it doesn't qualify you for the card. However, when it does expire, you are required to get the card. All right, so there are infractions associated with not having the California boater card. So those that are caught operating a vessel on the waterways, they will be fined. The first fine is $100. The second fine is $250, and every fine after the second one is $500. And on top of that, you are required to take a boating education course approved by the Division of Boating Waterways within 7 months of the conviction. So you might as well get the card so you can avoid the fine and avoid the hassle. Fines will be waived if a person can provide proof that they did have a valid boater card at the time of the citation. And all these fines, they go back into the county where the ticket was written in. So like I said previously, the program is cost neutral, meaning that all revenue generated goes directly back into supporting the program. The fee for the card is $11 for the initial card, and a fee for the replacement card or a duplicate is $6. The course fee ranges from free to $59.95. So yeah, there are free courses. It just depends what kind of course you want to take. We have in-person courses, we have online courses, we have at-home study courses, and they all charge different fees for each course. All right, so to-date summary. So since 2018, which is when we first started issuing cards, we've had 459,541 cards have been issued. And this number is as of yesterday. And a fun fact is that we have issued and mailed boater cards to boaters in every single state in the US and to over 40 different countries worldwide. As you can see here on the map in the blue is where we have issued cards to. And this map is it's about a year old, so maybe we might have some other countries in here too. I'll have to update this map. So this graph shows the number of boater cards issued by year ever since we first started, which was 2018. And the reason why we have such big number differences is because in 2018, anyone 20 years or younger were required to have the card. Since the card was implemented in 8 phases, so every year a new age group was required to have the card. So in 2018, 20 or younger, 2019, 25 or younger, 2020, 35 years or younger, 2021, 40 years or younger, 2022, 45 years and younger, 2023, 50 years and younger, 2024, 60 and younger, and then 2025. This was the final year. Well, all ages are required to have the card, which is why we saw such a huge increase in number of cards issued for this year. So yeah, we've had twice as many cards issued this year than the last year. So this year has been a very eventful year for us. And here's a picture of our website, what the website looks like on a computer, laptop, and what it looks like on a cell phone. And our website is californiaboatercard.com. It's where you go to apply for the card. You can find courses there and other FAQ information as needed. So this basically just shows you what the website looks like on a computer and a mobile device. We try to make it as extremely user-friendly so that people of all ages are able to easily navigate through the website. So because we're a new program, we've had to do a lot of outreach to get the name out there. So this is kind of where you guys also play an important role too, to help spread the word about the program and just so that everybody knows about it. So we do a lot of marketing through Facebook as well, and we do go to events. We participate in many outreach events throughout the state each year. This is where we're able to do face-to-face interactions with the public. We also distribute free courses, exams, and other boating safety information. We've also hung marina posters at over 350 harbors, marinas, and boat launch facilities throughout the state. And you can see here an example in the photo to the right, one of our posters. We're very active on social media and other platforms throughout the year. Just try and get the word out, just so everybody knows about the program. There are currently 16 approved courses that meet the education requirement. This graph shows here the percent of all cards issued by course type. So we have online, which is 91%. It's the more popular one because it's just so easy to take the course online. And then we have 7% have completed the Division of Boating and Waterways home study course, and only 2% have completed an in-classroom style course. And there are currently 2 free courses options to choose from on our list at californiaboatercard.com. All right, so to receive your card, you must go on our website, which is californiaboatercard.com. Submit the application on our website. After submitting the application, you would take a course listed on our website. Once you take the course, your application will be approved, and once approved, you'll receive a temporary card pictured on the right. The temporary card is valid for 90 days while you're waiting for your permanent card. And the permanent card takes roughly 2 weeks to get once you have been approved. And the boater card looks like the picture on the left here. Yeah, like I said previously, our website lists all the approved courses that meet the California Boater Card requirements. There's 16 approved courses. And vendors providing the exam, they must be approved by NASBLA, and they must be state certified as well. So we work with vendors to get them approved and listed on our website here. All right, and that concludes my presentation. I appreciate everyone listening. And does anybody have any questions or?
Yeah, you got a bunch of, well, not a bunch, some questions.
All right.
Fantastic summary, David. Thank you so much for your participation today. So let me start first
Yeah.
with a question that you got
Of course.
here. Bear with me. So, Bob Eberwine says the slide states requiring powerboat operating education is false. PWC rentals are exempt. Sorry, that slide said all. It should read some. So, I don't know if you have anything to say about that one.
Yeah.
It's in the chat.
Yeah, rentals are exempt.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
It's Michael Fiamingo says, is the minimum age to receive the card 16 years old?
There's actually no minimum age to receive the card, so anybody at any age can receive the card. However, the rules are different between operating a vessel and actually having the card itself. So you can have the card at any age. However, the rules on operating a card are separate from owning the card, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can be 18 and have the card.
Cody asked, do boater cards expired?
That's actually a good question. They're good for life, so they never need to be renewed. You get the card one time, and it's good forever.
Gail Giacomini is asking, why is the person operating a rental vessel an exemption? And the other, she asks a second question. Also, do you have to have a physical card, or can it be displayed on a phone or laptop?
Yeah, so that's a good question on why a person operating a rented vessel is exempt. And the reason why that is because they looked at the data and saw that most of the accidents were not caused by rentals. And that's kind of why they made the exemption for rentals. Whether I agree with that, I believe all people should. I don't think they should have any rental exemptions. However, I did not make the rules, unfortunately. So when they made the rules, they made people renting a vessel exempt from needing the boater's card. And yeah, you will need the physical card in case you're stopped by law enforcement. However, maybe at some point in the future, we are looking into having a digital option of the physical card. So hopefully within the next year, but we'll see how fast we can get that going.
Thank you, Greg. Manov says my boater card was good in Croatia last year, which
good to hear. Yeah.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
Lee Collar mentioned my boater card, which I have only been carrying this year, is already falling apart. Have you looked at the using a higher quality card?
Yeah, actually we just switched vendors last year, so hopefully you got our older vendor, but but hopefully in the next year it does become digital, so we won't have that issue.
Thank you. Cheryl McCarthy, is there a place to order small size posters of the boater card promotion? I ordered some last year, but they were very large. And
let's see here. Yeah, if you send me an email, I can. You're sending the contact information. Yeah, if you just want to send me an email, and I can help you out with that.
Perfect. Then David Beatty, does law enforcement maintain a database if a person can find their car is boarded on the water?
Yeah, law enforcement is able to look it up on our website. The tool doesn't work the best because you have to know your email address that you got the card with. So some people don't remember what email to use. So if you're not able to use that email address that you signed up to get the card with, the law enforcement officer is unable to find it online.
Richard Murphy is asking, are operators of small sailing dinghies less than 16 feet in length exempt?
They are not. As long as it has a motor on it, which includes a trawling motor, you're required to have the card. No matter what size, horsepower, power source, electric, gas. you're required to have the card as long as it has a motor.
And if you have a sailing certification from US Sailing or ASA, are you exempt from needing a boater card?
So ASA, no. So they have to go through the qualification process. So they have to go through NASBA first, and then once they go through NASBA, once NASBA signs them off, then they have to get reviewed by the state requirements. So the federal has their own requirements, and then each individual state, like California, we have our own requirements for each for the courses. So unfortunately, at this time, ASA is not qualified for the California Boater Card, and they aren't exempt from it either.
Would a member of a boat rental club be considered a renter, therefore not needing a card?
No, you need a. So when you rent a boat, you need a contract stating that you're renting the boat. So yeah, you would need the card if you're not renting it. You have to actually be renting it and have the contract stating that you're renting it, and actually it has to be a boat rental too.
And the last question is, who enforces the boater card law? US Coast Guard doesn't ask for it.
It should be, I mean, essentially all law enforcement officers have the authority to enforce it. So I guess it's up to each individual officer or agency to enforce this law. So in reality, any enforcement officer should be able to enforce the law.
Excellent. Any additional questions? And David, if you can just release the screen, that would be great. Any additional questions? Oh, we have one more. How many citations were written in 2024?
Ooh, I have looked at the statistics, but I didn't really look too much into that. Yeah, I'm not really sure about the how many citations were written.
And then have California boating statistics improved since implementation? I'm assuming in terms of that question that Mary's asking is in terms of probably accidents. I'm assuming because it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do have an accident analyst that we work with, but I haven't spoken to her and see if she's seen a reduction in accidents. But now that it's on my mind, I will actually talk to her and review the statistics.
David, I'm happy to jump in if you don't mind.
Hey.
Yes, please.
Hey.
Thank you.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. My speaker hasn't been working right. Sorry. Hi, guys. I'm Melissa Miranda. I oversee the California Boater Card Program. So I can answer a couple of those questions. So violations, we receive information from counties that are part of our subvention and our grant programs. So we don't receive information from all law enforcement agencies on the water. So the number is pretty low for that we see. So it was like a total of a little over 1,000 citations, more warnings than citations. So yeah, that is up to the discretion of the law enforcement officer on the warning and citation side. As for the statistics, so there's a lot of ways to monitor the successes of this program, and accidents or incidences are just that. So that's not really an effective means of evaluating this program alone. So that's not something that's being taken into account as far as successes of this program. So I just wanted to address that as far as if it's showing a reduction. We do millions of dollars in media campaigns every year too, and we'd like to say on years that our numbers are so low, we're like, yes, we did an awesome job. But then the years that it's not that we weren't doing our best, it's just accidents happen, and unfortunately, like I said, they are just that, accidents. So thank you for the question, but yeah, that hasn't been analyzed, and I don't think for many years that will be able to be analyzed, especially because we are phasing this in. So trends are going to be fluctuating. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Mel. I'm going to take one a question from Karen, and then Charles want to talk. Karen is asking, are boat captains required to get a card?
As long as they're operating in the California waterways, and they don't meet any of the exemptions, then they are required to have the card.
And there's a comment from Dave Whitey that says, how is success of the program measured? I think you talk a little bit about that, Mel. It says, if it's to keep us safe, accidents should be the measure, but it's kind of, well, I'll let you respond rather than Vivian responding.
Yeah, it's an education program. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, of course, we would like to see that statistics, go down as far as accidents, injuries, and fatalities. An interesting side effect is those that are taking boating safety courses may not have realized when they needed to report a boating accident. So we actually could see an increase in reportable accidents because now they are reporting them since they're educated now and know when to report. So just so you know, that's something, a byproduct, an unintended consequence, I suppose. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways we can measure success. We can measure it on boater behavior change, which would result in a reduction of accidents, injuries, and fatalities, but also the number of people that are getting their boater cards. There's many different ways, but like I said, we're not using just evaluating the numbers of accidents, injuries, and fatalities as the main measure of success of this program. So thanks for your question.
Thank you. Charles, go ahead and open up the microphone. And David, can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No problem.
I'm with the Coast Guard Auxiliary. I'm a vessel examiner, and I come across a lot of boaters who don't have their cards, and it's I'm allowed to pass them, which I think is a strange law, but for us, but I'm allowed to pass them, and it's amazing how many don't have it. And I'm encouraging a lot of people to get it done by January because I was told by my flotilla officer it will be mandatory. So they will not pass their vessel safety checks anymore, and then of course they could get fined on the waterways by the Coast Guard or active Coast Guard or Harbor Police if they don't have it. That's what I was told recently. So.
Thank you. There's another question. What is the total revenue raised in this program, and what is the current unused balance in the account?
Like David mentioned in his presentation, this is a cost-neutral program. So any of the money that is in the program budget is allocated specifically for the budget. For the operating costs. So that includes the staff to run the program, the contracts to operate and issue the cards, and to cover the cost of the card.
And the last comment, thank you, Mel. And David, the last comment before we move on, it says, I don't think that is true. A licensed captain is exempt as long as the license is current. It should be a fail as it doesn't meet the state and local requirements or a vessel safety check.
I'm allowed to pass them according to my flotilla officer. And I've been passing people without them until January 1st. And then it's in our rule book. So I'm allowed to actually do it. Now I'm an auxiliarist. Now, if I was active duty, I don't know how they would approach that. But as an auxiliarist, I'm allowed to do that during my vessel examinations. And of course, until it's mandatory in January. So.
Hi, this is Scott Teedy. I'm with Power. This is Scott Teedy. I'm with Power Squadron, and I'm vessel safety examiner as well. And on your vessel safety check, because you have the box state and local requirements, that is a requirement for a vessel safety check. So if they're not meeting our state and local requirements, e.g., they don't have a voter card, that's a fail.
No. I mark mine, and I asked many times, and it says it's not a requirement for us to fail them. And we've been doing this for a while, and it's going to be mandatory in January. That's what I keep being told. So. I mean, I
right?
got plenty of paperwork that it says you've not attended a boating class. They don't have a card, and they were allowed to pass. So,
Well, I disagree.
so okay, that's
I'm
fine.
going to have to stop. Sorry for this
No worries.
conversation. If you want, just guys, I'm happy to exchange emails among yourselves so you can clarify that. I'm sorry. I just want to respect others people's lunchtime and the fantastic energy we're having right now. I want to appreciate to say thank you to David and Melissa for joining us and for this wealth of information and a program that is, I know, experiencing and dealing with Mel on a daily basis and with David is very well put together with ups and downs, but fulfilling their job requirements, which is great. So again, we will follow up with an email that will have all of the websites, resources, and email contact information so you guys can continue to ask any questions you may have. So now let me introduce our colleague Thomas Jensen with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, who will be talking about one of our new invaders in California, unfortunately, the golden mussel. But the good news is he's going to share with us what the state has been doing and some resources for all of us to help us to prevent the spread of these invasive species. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Vivian, for having me, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Thomas Jensen, and I'm a scientist with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife in the Invasive Species Program. I want to apologize in advance. I'm just getting over a pretty bad illness, so I might still be a little congested and coffee, so bear with me as I make it through this presentation. So here today to talk about golden mussels and a little bit of their life history and the impacts we're seeing in California, and then what's being done for future management of this invasive mussel species. So to start, just a little bit about general invasive mussels. This term is inclusive of quagga and zebra mussels, which collectively are referred to as dry-scented mussels. Dry-scented mussels are freshwater bivalves that attach to surfaces and substrates using byssal threads, and they're typically striped in various shades of brown. And golden mussel, which was recently discovered in California in October 2024, is a freshwater and brackish water bivalve that also attaches to surfaces and substrates using byssal threads, typically various shades of gold and brown to dark brown. So all of these mussels are generally the same size, with adults not exceeding 2 inches. Invasive mussels have pretty wide environmental tolerances, which puts many California waters at risk of introduction. And the important thing here in talking about invasive mussels is their ability to attach to surfaces using those byssal threads that are circled in red on this slide. This is what allows them to foul practically any hard surface or substrate, and is the root of many of their associated impacts. They form dense colonies and clusters on pretty much any hard surface given the right conditions. So if you see any attached mussel, that should trigger an alarm in your head to report the sighting to CDFW. Adult invasive mussels live 2 to 4 years, are broadcast spawners, and have high reproductive potential. Their planktonic larvae, called veligers, are free-floating in the water column for several weeks before they settle on surfaces. So the mussels spawn and have these veligers that are free-floating in the water, and then those veligers grow and eventually settle out onto hard surfaces or substrates in the water. Once settled, they grow and filter feed intensively, and they can be found in a wide range of depths from the surface to more than 100 feet below the surface. They can grow prolifically in optimal conditions. And that free-floating veliger stage is what is another component of what makes these invasive mussels a unique invader, because they can spread overland by the transportation of stored water on watercraft or equipment or anything like that. So those free-floating veligers in the water can be transferred to uninfested water bodies overland through that pathway, as well as through a typical translocation of an adult mussel on a substrate or on a surface. So golden mussels were discovered in California in October in 2024 and really presented a new challenge in invasive mussel management. They're native to China and Southeast Asia, and they've been introduced to Hong Kong, Japan, and South America. Golden mussels have a much wider calcium and wider temperature and salinity and substrate tolerances than dry-scented mussels, but the key component is that wider calcium threshold, so they don't require as much calcium in the water to complete their life cycle as dry-scented mussels, so the quagga and zebra mussels that I mentioned before. This means that many California waters, brackish and freshwater, are suitable for golden mussel introduction and establishment. They were likely brought here through the commercial shipping pathway, but there's no way to know that for certain. So while there are regulations and protocols in place to prevent introductions of invasive species through commercial shipping, it doesn't completely eliminate the risk. And that's similar with many pathways that we can implement measures in to interrupt those pathways, but sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time, it doesn't completely eliminate that risk unless drastic measures are taken. This is the same for many pathways of introduction, as I mentioned. So prevention is about assessing vulnerabilities and reducing risk of introduction as much as possible, given other variables. Here's the current distribution of golden mussel in California. As you can see on the map, there's a cluster of detections in the Delta and detections throughout the State Water Project conveyance system leading to Southern California. Golden mussel were first found in the Delta and O'Neill Forebay. And since then, our task force has been monitoring the State Water Project downstream of these waters for golden mussels, and I've seen their incremental spread down the system to Southern California. So that spread down the State Water Project hasn't necessarily been surprising, as that's the way the water is moving through that system, and that untreated water moving through that system carries adults and villagers that establish and begin growing new populations. So it's not necessary, that wasn't a complete surprise to see that flow and incremental spread down to Southern California of that untreated State Water Project water. And knowing that waters receiving untreated water from the State Water Project are at very high risk for golden mussel introduction and establishment. Villagers can flow downstream and establish new populations at uninfested waters if all of that water is connected. And one thing to add, while this map looks like a lot of California, as many of you may know, there are many California water bodies not connected to these systems that are suitable habitat for golden mussel and that are worth preventing the introduction of golden mussel too. So prevention is really key and the most cost-efficient option to limit the impacts of golden mussel in California. Here's a close-up of the detection of golden mussel in the Delta. We found golden mussel from Rio Vista to Stockton to North Tracy to Martinez. And one thing I'd like to highlight is the connected water system from the Delta of all the rivers that connect to the Delta. In Brazil, researchers documented golden mussel spread upriver at a rate of 150 river miles in a year due to boat traffic. And that's with very heavy boat traffic going up and down major river there that's infested with golden mussel. But I think it proves an example of just how much even hydrologically connected systems these mussels can travel in those systems upriver against the current. So boats carrying adults or veligers can establish new source populations upstream, which lead to those watercraft being fouled and continuing on upstream. So it's possible for boats in the delta boating upriver to carry veligers or adults upriver. And they can establish in slow pockets of the river and continue that trend upstream. So I've talked about the pathway of watercraft in a water system, but watercraft are also a pathway for overland spread, whether adult mussels are physically attached to the watercraft on the hull or on the transom or any part of the watercraft, or if the watercraft is holding water that contains live veligers, so in a live well or a ballast tank or something like that. Additionally, there's the potential of spread not only on watercraft but other in-water equipment, so construction equipment and things like that, temporary docks, things that are placed in the water for some time and then moved to another water body. But invasive mussels can also be spread by paddlecraft, so kayaks, canoes, stand-up paddle boards, really anything that can hold water. Again, the threat is that veligers in that water, if mussels are spawning at the time the individual is using that in-water equipment, and that equipment holds water, that veligers in that water can be introduced to a new uninfested water body if that user goes and travels somewhere else in a given time frame. As I mentioned, any in-water construction activities, equipment that's used in infested water and transported to uninfested water without being cleaned properly beforehand. And then also, professionals working in infested waters is a potential pathway as well. So if you use equipment and you work in the water, I definitely recommend knowing where invasive mussels are, invasive species are, and maybe having dedicated gear per water body that you're working at, or being aware of different decontamination ways for your gear. And we have a decontamination protocol on our website for you to reference that provides several different decontamination methods and what species those are effective for. So there are many different pathways of introduction to new waters that need to be considered when designing and implementing prevention plans for water bodies. And these are plans that water body managers develop in order to stop the introduction of invasive mussels to their waters. Again, interrupting the pathways of introduction is how you reduce the risk of introduction. And while there are measures that may eliminate a pathway completely, they likely affect other variables, other large variables that need to be considered as well, like water body access or recreation or statewide water movement. To touch on some of the impacts of golden mussel, there are many impacts associated with invasive mussels. The first being environmental impacts, so how competing native species for resources negatively affecting ecosystem communities, system-wide health, affecting recreation for the public, recreational opportunities for the public. Certainly there's impacts to infrastructure, so dams, pumping plants, hydropower, agricultural infrastructure, anything that moves infested, untreated water that harbors veligers or adults and is a suitable surface for mussels to colonize is at risk of being fouled and if they do grow on there, will need to be maintained to keep proper function. Golden mussel can really restrict the inner diameter of pipes per se, affecting the flow and function for whatever it may be, if it's agricultural use or water conveyance use, all the same. And they can impact public safety, so flood control components, fire protection, water quality and security, things along those same lines of infrastructure. And then lastly, they can have economic impacts in California for sure, affecting California agriculture, fisheries, and water body access, which is a big one that we've seen this past year as we've all kind of collectively worked together to address this problem, this new struggle. Anything that touches or uses infested, untreated water will likely experience a negative impact from golden mussel. So with all of this, we've known about golden mussel for approximately 1 year and a couple months, and I want to highlight some of the impacts we've already documented. And sorry, I'm going a little overtime here. I'll try to.
Yeah, I was going to give you like that warning.
Oh yeah, I'll try to be brief here. This is a piece of equipment, a DWR acoustic Doppler current profiler. I won't talk about its use, but you need to know it does sit in the water, in infested water. And sometime around August 2025, DWR was having issues with the equipment collecting readings. They went out to discover it being fully encrusted with golden mussel. So that photo on the left there is when they went out to check on the piece of equipment. What is that? 10 months after it being golden mussel being discovered in California, this piece of equipment was fully encrusted. So they had to clean it off. That's what the photo on the right is what it looked like when they cleaned it off. So now that equipment and things like that will require ongoing maintenance, or at least a solution to stop the incrustation of golden mussel on those pieces. The louvers at DWR's inner fish facility. These are to stop fish from entering the pumps that feed the California aqueduct. And so you can see here golden mussels starting to encrust the surfaces of the louvers. These will require frequent maintenance and cleaning to maintain proper function for the facility. And these services provide a great substrate for a great attractive substrate for mussels to grow on. Here are some images of golden mussel attached to the hull of watercraft that were slipped and moored in the Delta, illustrating that fouling watercraft is certainly a pathway, and one our outreach and education team works to address and engage with that community. And lastly, this was to illustrate even golden mussel growing on some plant coontail in the Delta. So in response to all of this, CDFW has led the formation of the Golden Mussel Task Force, in which we published a response framework. The task force is comprised of federal, state, and local agencies, nonprofits, private partners, all working together to figure out a response to the golden mussel detection in California, and what future management actions need to be taken to effectively address the problem in the state. And here's a list of the kind of the sub teams we have in the task force. The science and capacity team building, which is really CDFW and our partners looking at various scientific questions and looking to answer various scientific questions surrounding golden mussel. Because while a lot of research has been published on golden mussel, we need to know if this population is similar, or if there are any differences in what we may observe with our California population, and then how to effectively manage them in the state. And we've developed outreach material to distribute to water managers and others to engage with boaters and paddle crafters, non-motorized boaters, recreationalists, anyone that this issue can affect, and trying to engage with that audience and make them aware of the issue and really get them on board with the clean, drain, dry messaging. So that's my call to action is thank you all for taking the time to listen to this presentation. And if you can, spread the word and the concern about golden mussel and invasive mussels in California. If you work in the field, keep an eye out for biofiling bivalves and report them to CDFW. And lastly, promote and implement the prevention, which is the clean, drain, dry messaging, everything, every time.
Thank you, Thomas. We're going to go ahead and quickly take some of the questions. I want to respect the agenda because we're running like 10 minutes late or 5. The first one is from Michael Proctor. It is my understanding that foreign commercial vessels that empty their ballast against guidelines within the Bay and the Delta are heavy contributors to introducing these mussels. Is the state asking, hold on for a sec, is the state asking, bear with me here, this industry to contribute financially to remediation efforts?
I'm not sure of what that may look like. I do know that we have members of the State Lands Commission that's part of the task force, and so we partner with many of those agencies that are involved with that, and they're involved in these discussions and how to respond to golden mussel in California. But in terms of specific financial contribution to the problem, I'm not exactly sure. I apologize.
Dave says, we have all been paying for a mussel sticker for a number of years. How are those funds being used and what is being done to eradicate the mussels? What good is closing lakes that have already shown infestation?
Yeah, Dave, that's a great question. That mussel fee sticker, the funds from that sticker have been going to mussel prevention in California for water body managers, for dry sand and mussel prevention. So quagga and zebra mussels. We have quagga mussels in Southern California and one population of zebra mussel in one reservoir at San Justo. So the fees from that sticker fund a grant program for water managers to implement mussel prevention activities and programs at their water bodies. And that kind of touches on your second question, because water management in California is very unique in that there are many different water managers, federal, state, local, that manage water bodies. It's not one overarching umbrella water manager like the state isn't responsible for all of the water bodies in California. You have many different water body managers. So it's up to those individuals to determine how they're managing the access to their water. And because this was a new introduction, some water managers took different approaches on how they wanted to address this new invasive species.
Thank you. Gail Giacomini has 2 questions. One is, have you developed a mitigation method for removing or killing golden mussels in boats that stay in water at all time? For example, enclosing the rudder or motor in the water in a bag or enclosure and removing it.
There has been some research on if the decontamination methods we had in place for dry sand and mussels will be effective for golden mussel, and everything is pointing to yes, they will be effective for decontaminating water. The methods we were using for decontaminating watercraft for dry sand and mussel will be effective for golden mussel adults and veligers.
And the
So
other question, oops, sorry. The other question is about what predators eat golden mussel.
what predators eat golden mussels? Various fish in their native habitats, um, and things like that. I'm not sure of their exact predators, but Gail, I can get back to you on the specifics of that question.
And Artie's asking, is Fish and Wildlife considering having mandatory inspections of vessels leaving infested areas? Also, what are the chances of the golden mussel colonizing in the most northern counties of the state?
So, Art, that kind of touches on the answer to a previous question of the management of recreation on those water bodies. That's up to each individual water body manager. Inspections and prevention programs are implemented by those different water managers. So some water managers might implement watercraft inspections, while others might have a self-inspection form, while others might have nothing at all. And so getting all of the water managers on board and understanding that this threat, and implementing some sort of prevention measures at their water bodies will be key to stopping golden mussel spread outside of the Delta and the State Water Project to waters like those in the northern counties of the state that are currently uninfested.
Thank you. The last question we're taking, it's about how long does a bilge area need to be dry to ensure that no mussels survive? You touched a little bit about that during your presentation.
Right now, the uniform minimum standard protocols that we're following is that it's a 30-day dry time, and that's what a number of different water body managers are implementing to ensure watercraft are rid of any live mussels in any the bilge area or or ballast tanks and things like that. And so what I'm sure a lot of you have been noticing is this the quarantine time that have been implemented at different water bodies.
And we'll send you also the link to the page that all the state agencies that have been involved in this process of trying to prevent the spread have been developed with the educational resources, among others, and of course with Thomas' email and website. And Thomas, thank you for joining us despite your cold. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry again. Pause, but if you have any questions, please reach out to our invasives email or my email directly. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent. Okay, right now we are transitioning. And again, don't worry, everything will be in your inbox, so it's easy for you. We're transitioning now to the last presentation of this educational meeting, which is in partnership with my colleague Dolores Chan with the Bay Foundation. So Dolores, don't forget to share the sound and feel free to take it from here.
Thank you, Vivian. Yeah, so happy to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dolores, as Vivian said, and I'm a project manager at the Bay Foundation. We are a LA-based nonprofit committed to the protection and restoration of Santa Monica Bay. And Vivian will also be presenting with me today. You all know her, you all love her. So I don't think she needs any other introduction beyond that. But we are extremely excited to shine a light on California's Dockwalker program, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. And today we'll be talking about what the Dockwalker program is, how it works, the impact that it has had on clean boating over the past 25 years. And before I dive deeply into our Dockwalker program, I do want to extend a warm thanks to our Dockwalker program partner, the California State Parks Division of Boating and Waterways, as well as California Coastal Commission's Boating Clean and Green program. And of course, our grantor, the California Clean Vessel Act Education and Outreach Grant Program. So today, we will go over a brief history of the Dockwalker program, what it is, the tools that we use, how someone becomes a dockwalker, and then we'll also take a look across the program's impact over the past 25 years and the continued and sustained impact, reach, and influence that it has had. So the original idea of California's Dockwalker program actually starts all the way back in 1994 with an organization called Save Our Shores from Santa Cruz County. And so they noticed a knowledge gap amongst boaters when it came to pollution prevention and disposal and remediation. So Save Our Shores started to engage boaters in Santa Cruz County and Monterey Bay as well through one-on-one education to teach them about clean boating practices. And then soon after, California's Boating Clean and Green program, which was led by the California Coastal Commission at the time, adopted this into a statewide program with the help and permission of Save Our Shores. And so for the past 25 years, this statewide program has actually now trained over 1,500 individuals to become dockwalkers and environmental educators that are passionate about engaging boaters across California on stewardship. So now the Dockwalker program is led by State Parks Division of Boating and Waterways and the California Coastal Commission, California Coastal Commission's Boating Clean and Green program. And then we at the Bay Foundation are partners in co-implementing this amazing program in Southern California. And as Vivian kind of alluded to, the Dockwalker program is a first of its kind peer-to-peer education and outreach program that helps train individuals to educate and empower local boaters to adopt clean boating practices. And by providing tips and tools and resources directly in this one-on-one manner to boaters, individuals can feel confident in their ability to properly recycle used oil, dispose of sewage, and adopt other best management practices like green cleaning and maintenance. And so reaching local boaters and empowering them to steward their own waterways is incredibly important in protecting local aquatic life and human health. And with the distribution of pollution prevention kits and educational materials, boaters are then equipped with the necessary tools and knowledge that they need to boat safely and responsibly in California. Excuse me. And at this point, you might be wondering what the value of this peer-to-peer in-person engagement is instead of like virtual engagement. Well, with approximately 4 million boaters across our amazing state, California has one of the highest levels of boating activity and recreation in the country. So even a small amount of pollution per vessel can cause serious harm to waterways and wildlife. By sharing education, clean boating practices, and resources in a friendly, face-to-face manner, it empowers boaters to steward their local waterways. And research that was developed by our programs showed that the most common source for information for boaters in California included boat shows, online resources, and through word of mouth, especially from peers and community members. And the Dockwalker program targets this word of mouth education and also uses peer pressure to influence social norms. There's a study from the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences that actually found that social pressure is the most effective intervention for changing environmental behaviors because people tend to conform to social norms. And this means that boaters are more likely to adopt environmentally friendly behaviors if they see other boaters engaging in those same environmentally friendly behaviors. And this program promotes environmentally responsible boating. It increases awareness and facilitates behavior change. It also supports pollution prevention services and distributes resources. And it builds a community of clean boating advocates and partners for broader impacts. In essence, the DocWalker program really leverages the power of person-to-person interaction and educational resources to encourage responsible boating behavior and preserve California's waterways for future enjoyment. So now we'll get a little bit into what kind of tools and resources our DocWalkers use to directly engage with and distribute to boaters. So I'm sure, and I hope a lot of you have seen our free California Boater Kit. Boaters get this resource when they're engaged by our DocWalkers and they're first quizzed on some basic California boating and safety laws, and then they're educated and empowered on the correct answers. And then finally, they're asked to sign a commitment to clean and safe boating in California waters. So DocWalkers are simply there to help boaters know the laws to boat safely and responsibly in California. And at the end of the year, our DocWalkers return these questionnaires to us so that we can track and gauge year after year what California boaters' understanding of these symbols and laws are. And the goals of the questionnaire are to really prompt that face-to-face education and provide that hands-on introduction to the boater kit. It helps us track responses, which helps us better orient our education and outreach efforts. And then it also identifies where boaters live so that we know who has received information from our partner DocWalkers, and it aids in identifying where our DocWalkers are conducting outreach efforts. So once boaters fill out the questionnaire, they are given the California Boater Kit for free, which is packed with a ton of resources and tools to help boaters reduce pollution, responsibly recycle oil, and also know the laws for boating in California waters. So yeah, like I said, it's filled with so many great resources, and we'll take a quick look at what boaters receive in the kit and how these items can be used. These resources were actually developed with the input and expertise of a research and advisory group of the marina industry in order to be of the most use to our California boaters. So featured on the front of the kit are websites, QR codes, and phone numbers for boaters to quickly and easily access information or services while they're out on the water or at marinas and harbors, and the same numbers for used oil recycling and reporting oil, sewage, and chemical spills are also featured throughout other publications and resources in the kit to make sure it's really easy for boaters to locate this vital information. And then the QR code on the front of the kit actually takes users to kind of like a virtual boater kit that features all the same publications, but in a digital format. And then it also contains short videos that explain what all the different publications and tools are for. So some of the resources that you see on the right here are just a handful of what's included in the kit, and we can take a more detailed look at some of the publications. Of course, we have When Nature Calls. It's a really handy pamphlet and guide to disposing onboard sewage and preventing accidental sewage discharges. So it explains the importance of proper sewage disposal as well as different types of marine sanitation devices, all the no discharge zones in California, as well as even like best practices for maintaining your onboard sewage disposal system. And we also have the ABCs of California boating and environmental boating laws. Excuse me. Both of these pamphlets are really great resources. It gives boaters a rundown of kind of basic laws that they need to know before operating a vessel in California waters, any like regulations that they may need to know when operating a vessel. So it also has information about penalties and fines if boaters are disregarding California law, but this is a really great resource for especially new boaters as well.
All right. Thank you, Dolores. Let's continue to review other items that are included in our boater kit. And really quickly, we have the bilingual Spanish Boater's Guide to Keep Pollutants Out of the Water, which includes quick best management practices boaters can implement to prevent potential sources of boat pollution, such as oil and fuel and sewage, to be prevented from getting into our waterways, as well as important phone numbers, including how to properly and legally, for example, report oil, chemical, sewage spills. Also, some of the phone numbers that Adam mentioned before, like how to report animals in distress or entangled animals, among others. Next, please. We also have region-specific items since California is so big. So, for example, for Southern California, we have the Recreational Boater's Guide to Using Hull Paint in California. This publication was developed by my program in partnership with the Port of San Diego and Beaches and Harbors, and of course, based on research to come up with a quick reference brochures that boaters can utilize to properly select what paint they can use depending on boat use, cleaning, and maintenance. Next. In addition, we have other specific region-wide items. For example, for Northern California, we have the Delta and the San Francisco Clean Boating Map. The Delta covers the central and southern portion of the Delta, that the San Francisco Bay covers all the 9 Bay Area counties. We show the marinas, contact information, as well as pollution prevention services the marinas offer to the boaters. And we also have the Northern and Southern California tide books, of course, each for each specific region, with the tide books, with the tides and current information, as well as harbor and marina information and marine protected areas, as well as important phone numbers. Next, please. Throughout different components of the boater kit, boaters can find not only our website, but also a QR code to invite boaters to download our free Pump Out Nav app. This resource helps boaters by geolocation to identify the nearest sewage pump out, dump stations, and floating restrooms. In addition to that, there's a variety of videos, as well as, for example, the how to pump out a boat. And in addition to that, it shows the specific location of the infrastructure, for example, the pump out in a marina, if it's operating or not. And in addition to that, because we want to empower the boaters, they have the capacity to notify if a marina or a pump out is not working, and that help us to continue to improve the network of pump outs and dump stations and floating restrooms across the state. And right now, this is a statewide app that was created by our Clean Vessel Act team. At that time, the Estuary Partnership and the Bay Foundation. But now we're excited to report to all of you that this Now Nation app is being used by Oregon, Washington, also Florida, Rhode Island, Vermont, and New York. Next slide, please. We also provide actual pollution prevention tools in the boater kit. Based on research, we identified that the cheapest way to control oil discharges or bilges discharges are by utilizing as a preventive measurement always the oil absorbent pillow and the sheet. Both are included in the boater kit. Dock walkers learn about what they are, how to use them, and how to properly dispose of them, so they can share that information with the actual boaters, because that's another goal of the program, is to empower the boater to identify their local resources. We also include a field bib, and in addition to that, we include an electronic flare discount coupon, which are very excited about that, because as you probably know, 2 days ago, the actual Coast Guard is going to start banning the use of pyrotechnic flares throughout the nation. So we're very excited that California has been in the forefront of this topic since 11 years ago. So again, the Dock Walker program really sharing the latest and greatest in different pollution prevention topics. Next slide, please. So how do you become a dock walker? So Dolores mentioned that anybody who is 15 to 100 years young can be part of the program. We have a variety of partners. Some of you who are joining us today are part of the program, but let's step back a little bit and understand how you can become a dock walker. The first thing is that the fact that we offer on an annual basis between 10 to 12 virtual and in-person trainings that we promote via press releases, social media posts and ads. In addition to that, word of mouth, flyers, and also by contacting our current partner dog walkers and the different organizations that support the program. During the training, we talk about the importance of boating in California, why the program exists, the potential sources of boat pollution, and we also talk about federal and state laws and the quick best management practices as educators we want to share with the public, and also, of course, how and where the program can be implemented. This program or the training is valid for 3 years. That's why we also offer during the year between 4 to 5 refreshers. And next slide, please. And after the training, you receive either a hat and or a tag, so you can identify yourself when you're implementing the role as dog walker, and also a certificate. Next slide, please. So this is a list that shows all of the partners that we have across the state, and by no means is an exhaustive list of partners, groups that we have worked closely with. We work with the Coast Guard Auxiliary and Power Squadron organizations that have endorsed the program, the first group since 2000, Power Squadron since 2015. They utilize the program when they do vessel examinations. We talk about that in previous presentations. They also use the program when they do navigation and safety classes. We also work with the private and public marinas. Some of you are here today because, of course, you want to operate your marina as a clean marina. So this is a perfect opportunity to do that and work with boaters as partners in your clean marina effort. We also work with both the Northern and Southern California associations of yacht clubs, and staff or members who are part of the DOCOR program get points towards the Club of the Year. Next slide, please. So in terms of action, the program can be implemented anywhere there are boaters. So, for example, dog walkers conduct education and outreach at boat shows and boating events, marine supply stores, barbecues, community events, among others. And through relationships and partnership building, the dog walker program is able to effectively reach and influence the highest volume of boaters in California. Our reliance on partners like yacht clubs and marinas and the different organizations, including Conservation Corps, of course, and passionate members of the public, drives behavior changes. And providing boaters with free access or free, easy to digest information and handy tools to combat pollution empowers boaters to effectively care and steward the waterways they love. And as we all know, the benefit of an informed public, it directly translates to safer and cleaner waters for California, for current and future generations. Next slide, please. So for all these 25 years of this unique state and nationwide program, we have been able to reach out to over, at this point, 140,000 boaters. We have worked with more than 1,400 dog walkers, including our partners from this year. Next slide, please, who have donated thousands of hours. Next slide, Dolores, please. Thank you. Wait for a second. So we're excited to have this program, and we want to invite you to hear from one of our partner dog walkers about what has meant for him and his organization to be part of this program.
Happy 25th birthday, dog walkers. My name is Robert Islas. I am the immediate past district captain and current district division chief for logistics in District 11 South. I became a dock walker many years ago because I thought the relationship between being a dock walker, program visitor, and a vessel examiner was a natural fit. If you're in the auxiliary, this is a natural program for you to get involved in, and I strongly encourage you to do so. If you're not in the auxiliary but just interested in promoting the marine safety environment, this is also a great program for you to get involved with. So with that being said, once again, happy birthday, happy 25th birthday, and we look forward to having you come out here and become a dog walker. Thank you.
Thank you, Dolores. Next slide, please. So this map shows where boaters live who have learned about clean boating from dog walkers just this year. And as you can see, it's a fantastic, geographically diverse map that shows the fantastic effort that our partner dog walkers implemented this year. This year, we distributed 6,700 boater kits across the state. Next slide, please. And every year, we try to honor the most active partner dog walkers. I'm very excited and proud to show to all of you this year's top 27 partners. Some of you are attending our meeting today, so thank you for joining us. Numbers in red are the number of boaters that particular partner help us to share keen boating practices with this year. And as you can see, it's a fantastic group of or community because it really represents who dog walkers are, including not only marine operators, members from the public, boaters, yacht club members, conservation corps, tons of different people. So this makes our program so successful. So thank you so much. And as you can see, it's from all over the state. So thank you to all of you who are here joining us today. Next slide, please. So let's talk really quickly about the impact. The vision of this program is to influence all California boaters and to prevent pollution. We know boaters love boating for a reason and want to safeguard where they are and to love and recreate in. We also know individuals are influenced by their neighbors and communities. So the beauty of this community-driven program is it makes ripples of impacts directly from the bottom up. Most boaters, as we all know, want to protect our aquatic resources. They just need information that is clear, easy to understand, and convenient. It doesn't hurt that, of course, is free. Every year, we also survey boaters who have received our boater kits because we want to know if in reality they are using our resources. And year after year, boater kit recipients respond saying that they would recommend the boater kit to others. So for example, in 2024 and 2025, this week, we just finished analyzing the data. I'm super excited to report to all of you that over 94% of the respondents who took the survey said that they would highly recommend the boater kit to others. And all of the items included in the boater kit rated as over 80% of being used by our boaters. With the dog walker program and the distribution of the boater kits, we are effectively using research-based education strategies to increase awareness and facilitate behavior change, to empower local outreach, support pollution prevention services, and in addition to build partnerships. Next slide. So as we say, happy birthday or happy 25th birthday to the California Dog Walker program, we hope to continue to further this impact to another 25 years and beyond. So you will see the future Dolores and Vivian managing the program. These decades of success are rooted in peer-to-peer community-based advocacy, and it would not be possible without all the amazing partners we have across the state. And let me tell you, this is a unique state and nationwide program that other states are planning to copy. So we're happy to always lead the environmental education across the state. With that, I would like to leave you with 3 takeaways that have contributed to our success and may be helpful for considering for future approaches. So the first one is, for example, peer-to-peer connection and outreach is influential to reinforce positive social norms and motivate ideal habits. Collaboration is key, and collaboration at all levels is critical to build the scale and program sustainability. And also consistency. While some information is refined and new aspects are incorporated to our program because it's a dynamic program, dog walking friends can expect us to continuously support their efforts by providing them not only new resources, information, but also the boater kits for their education and outreach efforts on an annual basis. Next slide, please. And just remember the program is valid for 3 years. During those 3 years, you order boater kits from us or updated materials if you need to upgrade your materials. In the next week or so, we will have the 2026 dog walker trainings updated in our website. And we want just everybody to join us when you have the time. And right now that concludes our presentation. But before we take some questions, we want to ask you, are you excited to join the Dog Walker program in 2026? Of course, no pressure. That's why we included just 2 options for you, just to put some pressure there. And I'll give you like few seconds, and then Dolores, if you don't mind helping me checking the chat so we can respond to some of the questions, and I'll be sharing the information of this poll in few seconds. So we'll see what people respond. And thank you for absolutely or answering with positive
I love all
feedback
the
here.
excitement to become Dog
Yeah,
Walker.
all the excitement. Yes, go ahead, Dolores, if you want to read the question, I'm happy to take them, or if you want to respond them as well, feel free to do that.
Yeah, looks like Charles handed out 2 large boxes of kits, and his auxiliary also handed out 2 boxes this year. So thank you, of course, for all the efforts getting all of these really great resources out. And yeah, definitely more to come in 2026. Gail said thank you for the historical background of dog walkers. Lots of congratulations and happy anniversaries for our amazing program. David tried to use the discount coupon to see if it worked, and the link was broken. And I think
So that
Jeff
probably means that you had an
might have,
old coupon, because we always
yeah.
test them, and that's why it clearly states the expiration date. So we understand that partner dog walkers sometimes, because they are partners, right? Like life gets busy, and sometimes you order certain amount of boater kits, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I couldn't finish the box. We always send an email at the beginning of the year around February announcing the boater kits, and we always ask if you have leftover from previous year, let us know. We'll be happy to send you the time-sensitive materials, including the questionnaire, the type books, and the discount coupon for the flares, which is going to become extremely handy now with the new Coast Guard regulation.
And Georgia drops the current one for 2025, so thank you for doing
Exactly.
that.
And we have the already, Dolores, right? The new 2026. But of course,
yes.
please use the ones that we just shared with you until December 31st.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Gail. Great to see you. Gail was one of our very, very first partner dog walkers here in the Bay Area. So thank you. It's great to see you again. And checking time, 2:13. So we are, for whatever reason, the universe allow us to go back to the agenda. So we're perfect on time. Couple of things that I wanted to mention to all of you. Don't worry, in your email, you're going to receive everything you need to know about this meeting, follow-ups, action items, including email from all the speaker, all their websites, also some of the questions you ask and the links that were discussed. And also the evaluation form. Again, it's very important for us to continue to improve these educational meetings, and also to learn if you have any additional recommendations for future topics. So please feel free to, or I beg you to please take 2 minutes of your time and fill out the evaluation form. And other than that, I want to wish you all happy holidays. Have a fantastic time. Remember never to go to bed without learning something new or doing something good for the community, especially during these times that are hard. We need to show who, as human beings, we can be. And I wish you all peace and health and happiness for 2026. All right, 2:14. How about that? Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And this concludes our meeting.